This is Gippsland FM, your community radio station here where we connect as a community, share what is awesome in Latrobe Valley, in Gippsland, so that we can enjoy it and have a wonderful life. Today the weather is, it's a little bit cold, but the sun was out, a little bit of wind there. Tomorrow we're going to have a top of 23, partly cloudy, bit of sun. So if you're going to be washing, be careful about when you're going to put it out, because you want to make sure it gets dry and you don't have to wash that again. Today it is Business, Wealth and Mental Health, the show that explores how thriving businesses, wise financial management and peaceful relationships are good for your mental health. And today on the show I have the amazing, the wonderful, the super awesome Mark Nash from H&M Farming. Mark, how are you going?
Damien, it's good to see you again, mate. Harrison and I enjoyed it when you popped up to the farm the other week there to have a bit of a tour around and have a look. It was great to meet you, mate, and finally get on this show.
Well, you have such a fantastic spot up there. You've got this view over Latrobe City, essentially, up there on the hill, and it's so peaceful and quiet. But you weren't always there. Do you want to jump in that Wayback Machine? I've got my Back to the Future cup here, so people know what I'm talking about when I talk about a silver DeLorean. Can you take us back in time? Tell us a bit about a history, some of the things that shaped you and moulded you to become who you are today.
Yeah, sure, mate. I was probably very fortunate. I grew up in a very small country town, Kinglake West, and go back when I grew up. I'm now 47. Going back when I grew up, it was very, very tiny. So it was one of those towns where a car coming towards you gave a wave because you just knew who they were. They were just one of the other farming families up there. And went to a very small little school, Kinglake West Primary, and then on to Yea High School. And I guess it was the same kids transformed into each different school and transitioned through the lifetime of me knowing all of them. And they were just all great mates. They were terrific people. Like, I still keep in touch with a lot of people I went to school with. Had a couple of sisters I grew up with. They've done well in their life. They've moved into the city. And mum and dad are still on the farm at Kinglake West. It's probably one of those places I always call home. It's just one of those places that just has a connection with you. And if you're born and bred on the mountain up there, it was a terrific life. And it was great to grow up there. Dirt bikes, chainsaws, all the young boy stuff that you just sort of love. And I guess sometimes probably kids miss out on these days. Life sort of is very technological advanced, with iPads and stuff like that. We had none of that, I remember talking to my sisters not long ago. We got a video game for Christmas and it was Pong, like a sort of two sticks and a ball, and we thought that was magic. Now, you got virtual headsets. So it was a different sort of life growing up there. From there, mate, I transitioned into the world of government law enforcement, I guess, mate. Took on a few different roles there. Which I got to say is fantastic, but can be very taxing too. It can be very stressful. It can be very, I guess it's the front row seat to the greatest show on earth, people say, and it at times can be. But I take my hat off to everybody out there that serves their local community, their state, their country, in whatever shape or form they do, in whatever uniform they wear, because at some stage or another they're going to suffer some kind of hardship because of the job. And it is something that I've been very passionate about looking at to understand, particularly myself, is that I guess, you sort of work an 8-hour or 10-hour or 12-hour shift or whatever it might be, in whatever policing or emergency service role or military role you take, and then, you take that uniform off, and then, you're instantly supposed to switch on into another sort of dynamic part of your life, whether it be your family, friends, whether you're going out that night. And sometimes it's just very difficult to be able to do that. And in order to find my peace, I would escape to the countryside. I would escape to camping, four-wheel driving, dirt bike riding, those sorts of things. And I guess over that time, it showed me, I guess, the effects that had in my mental health, to be able to better manage it, I think, because my mental health at times had been quite poor. We're not good as guys, particularly big guys, I'm 6'4", to reach out and ask for that help, or reach out and admit that we're not doing well. And the worst part about it is you get to a stage where you become so broken, like me, you end up in hospital. And that's not helpful for anyone, particularly my family, my little fella Harrison. It's not helpful for that. So one of the things that, I really enjoyed was the great outdoors, and I factored in that if it was a good assistance to me, then potentially it's some good assistance for other people.
Because what you've done now, you've got your farm, you took the old milking shed and you converted that into a place where people can stay, and you put that out there for people that have a service history or something like that need to get away, and you actually don't charge them for that, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, mate. So when we bought the farm, it was originally a dairy, and I wouldn't know one end of a dairy cow the other, except when I drive past the dairy. Yep. And I've milked a house cow once, and that was it. So we didn't need the dairy, so we converted that into a cabin now, which is quite rustic and quite comfortable. It's got a kitchen, bedrooms, toilet, shower, lounge room. We've got a bar sort of area set up, and it's a great outdoor pad that big outdoor concrete pad that looks out over the whole of the valley. And we've set that up, and that we offer that out or donate that out to single parents who are struggling, that can't afford holidays these days, veterans, members of police emergency services, those sorts of things that might need a bit of time away. And it's free from the use, sleeps about 6 people, and we get a lot of interest, which is really good, but we could always make room for more people.
And you have people travelling from quite a distance. You've had people come from Queensland.
Yeah, that's correct. We've had guys come down from Queensland on a road trip that they've worked their way down to eventually end up at the cabin.
And what do they find when they get to the farm, and when you're looking at them and they're experiencing that? Because you get them out there and they've got that ability to come and do things on the farm, from, as you say, from firing the shotguns to being part of the farming to the lambing, that kind of stuff. What do you notice most about that the people get from it?
Probably the biggest thing we get in regards to feedback is the peace. It's just peaceful out here, isn't it, mate? And coming from some of the veterans that, like a couple of the guys have done some pretty big tours overseas, the feedback is, it's so peaceful, I don't want to leave. And I think you've been out there, it is very quiet, it's very peaceful. There's not a lot of other traffic around. It's high up, so you've got a great view. And there's things to do, like there's always something happening around the farm, moving cattle around, calving. At the moment we've finished, fortunately. We haven't got any more new lambs coming on, which is good, so we can sort of slow down a bit and focus on sort of getting the cabin a little bit more tidied up with a few other little bits and pieces we want to do down there. So if any tradesmen are listening and perhaps might be good at concreting or nailing in some plywood onto the walls, hit me up, because I could do with that help.
So when you talk about that, you mentioned about the quiet thing, and how is it, because from your experience as well, where you've had these stresses, and some of the stuff, I don't think people fully appreciate some of the stress that goes through, the enforcement people that we, have, the military people, those kind of, that see that kind of, let's say, the nastier edge of life, to put it that way. How important is it, from your experience, that quiet enables you to actually address that?
Yeah, look, I think that quiet is really important to try and get your own thoughts together, but also your own thoughts together in a safe place. Mm-hmm. And again, your own thoughts together in a safe place that's not costing you anything. And the cost of living these days is crazy. I mean, we've all felt it, we all feel it. So it's that aspect of being able to be safe, connected, and cared for. Like me and Harrison, my little fella's only 11, but he does a cracker job at going out of his way to sort of show people around the farm, introduce people. I mean, you had a chance to chat with him, has a chance to show you the animals, that sort of stuff. He's on the quad bikes, the dirt bikes. He's very active with that sort of stuff, and he's great at fitting in with those other people. Obviously, when you're looking at the emergency services and those sorts of things and the things that they go through, imagine a shift where you're on the van, you've been involved in a pursuit, you've gone to a number of domestics, you've been, assaulted verbally, perhaps physically, and then after your 8-hour shift, you're taking off your uniform, you're chucking it in the locker, you put your casual clothes on, and your partner's ringing going, we've got to go to mum and dad's for dinner, what time you get home, quickly get home, we've got to get in the car and go. You're trying to come down off what's happened at work, and then now you're dealing with this. It's hugely stressful. This gives people an opportunity to be able to catch their breath, just to stop. It's peaceful. Yes, internet service is great out there, but it's not what it's about. It's about sitting on that deck and just looking out at that view, having the fire going at night, just resetting in life a little bit.
And that's the part I wanted to explore a little bit more, is that quiet time, because when we have those stresses, we can go straight to the internet and do something like that. But does that really work as far as de-stressing, or is it just moving one sort of activity for another activity? Does that quiet time really help?
Look, I think it is beneficial, only because the feedback I get is that this is so peaceful, mate, I can't wait to come back. So when you do get that, you realise that there's probably an aspect of that great outdoors, the terrific healing aspect of it. And I mean, a day like today, it's crystal clear. You can see all the way out to Borbo, it's just nothing impeding your view. So
you're looking across the valley all the way through.
Oh, the whole way.
One side of the mountains.
And at night time, all the lights light up, and you see all the different farms, people turning their lights on, and, traffic moving around down on the road down there and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, it is really, and then you're trying to work out which town's which, and everyone's sitting there going, nah, that's this town, nah, that's that town. So, and there's a lot of interaction, and I think that that's a terrific part about it. Some people shoot on the farm. Foxes can be a pest, and we obviously encourage anyone to come up, if they are going to shoot, obviously have the appropriate licenses and stuff like that. But foxes are one of the things that we've got a problem with, and I encourage anyone that if they see them, unfortunately, you've got to do what you've got to do, because I can't have them take my lambs.
I was going to say, from that, again, I really want to, for the people listening, because most people won't experience the same level of stress that some of the enforcement officers experience. But even in everyday life, I mean, there's a lot of times where, when we're looking at mental health, it is a big problem today. And I'm just wondering, is that partly because we just don't shut off, even though we're not, we might not have a lot of stress. But even having, I know from my perspective, I have my phone on silent all the time, so it's not interrupting me. And I've noticed times when it has been on, which is rare, and it rings, I get a shock. And I'm just wondering, how, from your perspective, have you noticed that difference between being out and having that peace where you can just shut up? Because I've been out there and I notice, when you sit outside, you've just got quiet. And I know you knowing and chatted to you, you do sit outside and just get that quiet. Do you find that gives you that extra balance? And I want to put it out there for the people that are listening that might be feeling that stress. They might not have the same level of military stress or police force stress, that type of thing, but just taking that time to have 5-10 minutes of just nothing.
Yeah, look, my thought is that this day and age, with the cost of living and life moves very fast, and you only need to look at your kids going to school, and the stuff that they have and require these days is incredible, and the stuff that they want to. I mean, everyone wants to be up with the Joneses, so to speak. So there's a big high pressure on everybody, and particularly families, to try and give as much as they can to their kids, to be able to, and when kids can't get that sort of stuff or don't have that sort of stuff, the mental health starts at such a young age with those sorts of things. And I think it's really important that you find that inner peace somewhere, or you find that peace and quiet somewhere that you can reset, that you can realise that you don't need anything in the world to make you happy. You don't need a lot of stuff. You can sit out there with a fire, a coffee and a couple of biscuits, and you can find some inner peace for an hour. And it just, the quiet, the sound of the birds in the background, the rustling of the trees, just tends to just give you hope and prosperity, I guess, that that you are going to be okay. That I mean, you only need to look at a single parent these days. I mean, how tough they must be doing it. That's why we donate it out to single parents as well, because kids shouldn't miss out on holidays. Kids should not miss out on an opportunity to get away. And if people are sitting home there stressing, going, I can't get away, I can't find the money to take the kids away, the mental health aspect on a single parent that must have. I mean, I'm a single dad myself, would be immense.
How do you find that? Because I've noticed you mentioned Harrison there a couple of times as well, and I've noticed out there he's actually actively out there. And we talk about the keeping up with the Joneses, and you're always looking at it, and no matter where you look, you're always going to find someone that's better off. But when you look at what Harrison does, I mean, he's very active out there. When we were out there, he was off riding his motorbike with another kid that was there, and then they come back, and he was quite confident in how he went about his thing, and he just seemed to be his own person. How did you, as a dad, how did you help bring that about as well?
Look, Harrison's I guess, 1 in a million kid. I mean, he's a terrific kid. I love being a dad. I think it's the greatest thing you could ever possibly do in life. I was really lucky that he is really open to fitting into the way, or to farming life. He's a really, really fast learner. He's extremely gentle. I think he gets that from his mum, my ex-partner. He's extremely gentle little fella, which I think is just beautiful. I think he'd make a terrific vet. I was really lucky that I had a really good couple of people that taught me a lot about farming and how to sort of farm and those sorts of things. One lovely lady down in Bairnsdale, she taught us a lot about farming, and she was extremely good with Harrison, so he learned at a very young age, so he became very, very confident very quickly with farming. And there's not much except for the physical stuff that he can't do around the farm. Like he'll move cattle, he'll move the big, a couple of big crazy ones that we've got. He'll help mark up the calves, mark up the lambs, no problems. I mean, he's really good. Drives all the equipment. He's very good.
How important do you think it is for boys to get out there and just do stuff? There is something about an attractiveness to someone that can do things. There's a confidence there. How important do you think it is for young boys to be actually actively out doing things?
Yeah, that's fantastic to think that. The way you are on a farm, or the way you can work around a farm, is, and I think this is where it differs, I guess, from some city people, is that you've got the ability you have to work the problem out there. So you have to come up with a solution. There's no one else going to do it for you. You from chainsaws to dirt bikes to quad bikes to marking up calves to dealing with your sick animals, that sort of stuff, and then running your normal household. So it gives you a great ability to be able to manage your mental health, because you can work real difficult, hard problems. And I mean, some of the stuff, even to me now, like I know some of the days I can get pretty broken, where you sit there and go, I'm pretty defeated today, and I'm not ashamed to say, I have the odd cry here and there where I think to myself, what am I doing? Why is everything going so wrong so often? It's very difficult to sort of admit defeat as a man at times, I guess, but I can quite comfortably say there are days where I go, I've just defeated today, hang up the boots, go inside, get a coffee, sit on the couch and just check out for the whole world for the day.
So tell us about that though, because isn't that a sign of going, okay, maybe I just need to hang up the boots for today? This is not giving up on life, but it's just going, okay, I just need a break.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, you've got, every man and every person, I think these days, is out there, you're going to have your days where you can admit defeat, and that's okay, because, nothing lasts forever, not even the pain. And tomorrow, you start again. You have a reset. You've had a good rest. I was talking to a friend of mine just before, and she's got quite a big dairy farm out near Leongatha, and she was saying that, she's actively now working on having naps to try and get herself not so tired. And I thought that's terrific, because that's working for her. And if you're not tired, if you're well rested, if you're well nourished, you can make good decisions. When you're tired and emotional and you know that it's all falling apart, you're not making good decisions. It's time to just check out from the world for the day, come back and have a crack tomorrow.
And how important is it from your perspective, because you talked about being broken and then getting advice? I mean, guys generally then don't tend to ask for advice, and we're speaking generally here, everyone's different, but generally guys don't seem to ask for advice or when there are problems. But there is also that model where from my experience, I've found that guys will have a set of mentors that they'll turn to. I've certainly have in my life where I had different mentors. I wouldn't tell my problems to a lot of people, but there were certain people I trusted, and when I had an issue, I would go to them and get some guidance. And a lot of times they'd tell me to, they'd ignore me for a bit and let me think about it for a while and try and solve it myself. And that's part of that process. But how did you find your way to knowing to seek advice, but seek the right advice?
Look, I ended up getting a good counsellor, which I was really lucky through Relationships Australia in at Melbourne, and they were terrific. I had a lot of problems in my relationship where I couldn't sort of settle, so they were terrific at that sort of stuff. I've got some great mates, like a big shout out to Ash, Alfie, Toby. They're fantastic at being able to ring and have a good laugh. We tend to fairly, there's a lot of banter between a lot of us, and which is terrific because I think that really builds a lot of great bonds. I haven't personally ever rang Lifeline, but I think that's a terrific service that's out there. I know that there's a great fear amongst law enforcement and policing sort of roles and those sorts of things that, once you reach out, perhaps that's the end of your career, or perhaps that's the end of your role at that point in time, or you're shelved and those sorts of things. Mental health is everywhere. And you don't have to go far to find it. Mental health problems are everywhere. And this day and age, I like to think there's a much better understanding within the community and within those agencies and those organisations that mental health is being looked at as any other injury, like a broken arm, like a broken leg. You get the right help, it heals. And I think that's really important, is to get the right help. I'm offering a small opportunity as far as a big picture to try something different in regards to the great outdoors, and an opportunity to stay away, an opportunity to be away, an opportunity for peace and quiet. That's my little piece of the big puzzle, I guess.
Because that's what I want to get to. Because there's a difference, I think, between being whiny and it's someone that's going, okay, I've got a problem and I need help. And I think most people, or from my experience, everyone that I've encountered that's had a problem or that has had someone come to them with a problem has been understanding and wanting to help. Is that your experience as well? Have you ever?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is, and people do want to help. There's a real, I think, disconnection within the community between understanding mental health and perhaps understanding when there's a real need for you as an individual, if someone comes to you with mental health issues, to step up and do something a lot more. I did a talk a while back, and I spoke about the importance of understanding if someone comes to you and they said perhaps they are at a point where they don't want to continue on, what do you do? And there was no one in the room actually said, I'd ring 000 straight away, which is really concerning to me, that no one actually looked at it and went, I just ring the professionals to come and take over, and then I would stay there, give my support till that happened, and then allow them to take over, and I would continue to give my support to that person afterwards. And I think that there's probably needs to be a lot more of that within the community, to be able to say, right, well, if something is struggling and if someone is struggling, what do I do next? What's my next step to help my mate? And I know in the army, it was very much, sold at army to look after your mates, check in on them, do that extra bit. And I guess with army and defence force and those sorts of things, you very much in a close-knit environment all the time, so you do notice different changes in people, so to speak, but particularly living in a farming community out here, you might not catch up with your neighbour on the farm for another 3 or 4 months, so you have no idea about the change in him, or the little changes in him, where that comes down to your close mates to be able to monitor those sorts of things.
Yeah. And for anyone listening to, if you are feeling stuck or lonely, or that you need help, reach out to somebody. There's Lifeline and a number of different organisations to reach out to, but also just reach out to anybody. I haven't encountered anyone that wouldn't help if someone said, "Hey, I need some help." Now we've only got a couple of minutes to go, or a minute and a half. What would be one of the key things, your key thing that you would want people to take away from this show that would help them in their everyday life?
Reach out if you are struggling. Try a couple of new different things. If you haven't been to the great outdoors, we've had some city people come down that haven't been to the great outdoors before. Try something new, try something different, and definitely, give some support to your mates. Check in on your mates. If you're sitting around today, check in on 5 of your mates and ask them to check in on 5 of their mates.
That's a great piece of advice there. Now, how do people find out about you, Mark?
So H&M Farming Facebook page. You can hit us up on there, and we'll get back to you, and we'll send you some photos of the cabin, those sorts of things that are up there available.
Fantastic, Mark. I really appreciate you taking the time to come in on the show today, share what you've been through, share how you're helping people. People do reach out to Mark. He's got some great stuff out there. Get out to some farm, and fantastic view amongst many, many other wonderful things that you've got there.
It is a good view, yeah.
But Mark, thank you very much for taking time to come in on the show.
Thanks, Damien. Really appreciate it. It was lovely.